Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
A victory for parental rights in Ohio and around the country. Hi, I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and dean of Liberty University School of Law. Joining me is Matt Barber, the vice president of Liberty Counsel Action and also associate dean at the law school. Matt, this case is one that the Ohio Supreme Court recently decided. Liberty Counsel filed an amicus brief on behalf of the biological mother of this child who entered into a lesbian relationship with another individual, left that relationship, and wanted to maintain full custody over her own biological child. The battle began because the other lesbian, who was not biologically related or legally related through adoption, wanted to be treated like a parent, and the Ohio Supreme Court said no. And I think this is a great victory for parental rights.
It is a victory, but it does underscore the reality we've been saying all along, that same-sex marriage does have very real consequences. This wasn't a traditional, a same-sex marriage in that it was a legalized same-sex marriage in Ohio. They don't have same-sex marriage, but the context is there, and this notion of de facto parenthood is catching on in some states around the country, and ultimately it's kids who get hurt. In this case, the child was able to really avoid the consequences of this. However, we are going to see the floodgates open as a consequence of same-sex marriage with these kinds of disputes across the country.
And de facto parenthood, for those who haven't heard that term before, is a situation where someone is not biologically the parent of that child, nor are they the legal guardian or adoptive parent of that child, but they're living with someone who is a real parent, a legal parent, and then they leave that relationship, and it could be an opposite sex or it could be the same sex, and they leave, and then they file suit later on wanting to be treated as though they have parental rights, just as though they're either the biological or an adoptive parent of that child. That really creates a significant problem. Think of it like this, where you have, for example, just in the opposite sex situation, you have a husband and wife, they have a child, there's a divorce, one child has primary custody, the other, or one parent has primary custody, the other has the visitation, and now the one parent starts a relationship, could be opposite sex, with someone else, and they don't get married, but they're living together for 2 years, and then they separate, and then that person wants to have parental rights. And in fact, you think, well, that would be polygamy. That would be three parents having rights over the same child. That's right. And in fact, a court in the country has actually allowed that to happen. It becomes even more complicated when it's same-sex relationships, as it is in this particular situation here.
Well, the good news is in this particular case, again, the right result has occurred, but certainly there are going to be situations where, when you tamper with God's design for marriage and God's design for family and start coming up with all these makeshift, putting the selfish interests and of homosexual activists ahead of what is in the best interest of children. When you do that, ultimately the children end up getting hurt.
That's right. And in fact, what you ultimately have is, with de facto parenthood, you have literally a weakening of the marriage relationship. That's what it ultimately does, is it undermines marriage, because if you can become a parent without marriage or adoption, as de facto parenthood ideas would suggest, then marriage is not necessary. It becomes irrelevant. All of it ultimately weakens marriage. This particular court recognized the need to protect the biological mother's constitutional rights to raise her child and said, quote, co-parenting is not synonymous with an agreement by the biological parent to permanently relinquish sole custody in favor of shared legal parenting. And in fact, in this particular situation, Kelly Mullen, the individual who was the biological parent and the person on whose behalf we wrote the brief, did not want to relinquish her sole parenthood rights over this child. And when she left that lesbian relationship, she wanted to sever any other kind of tie with this other person. She did not agree to give up her parental rights, and the courts would not force her to do so, at least in this particular case, which is good news.
Well, the analogy is that, a woman has a child. She has a live-in boyfriend who is not related to that child, who has not adopted that child, has no legal relationship to that child. They break up. She kicks the boyfriend out of the house, and he later comes back and wants a full shared custody with the child. Well, the courts most of the time rule that is simply cannot occur, that the rights of the parent prevail over the rights of this former boyfriend. And again, the standard is what is in the best interest of the child, not what is in the best interest of this non-related individual who has some kind of emotional bond they feel to the child.
Yeah, all they're claiming is some kind of emotional bond, and even if you had a situation where there was some kind of relationship emotionally between one person and another, that still does not grant you parental rights over that child.
You're not a co-parent based on that relationship.
No, the only way you can become a parent, historically and common sense-wise, would say that you're either the birth parent or you're the adoptive parent. You have some kind of legal relationship, and to be an adoptive parent means that the actual birth parent would have given up their parental rights. So there is a knowingness to this. There is one parent giving up their parental rights and another person stepping into that parent's rights by legal means. Whereas in this particular case, just simply living together, which is what happened here, just simply living together without going through relinquishing the parental rights of the biological parent and going through a legal process to actually obtain parental rights does not give you parental rights, as this lesbian was claiming.
Well, and it can't. You mentioned common sense. In their heart of hearts, I think homosexual activists know that you can't have two mommies. You can't have two daddies.
Well, if you can have two moms like this, for example, then you can have three moms or four moms or five moms.
Why not?
Or
the sky's the limit.
In heterosexual context, you could have a mixture of all kinds of them, because you could have two biological parents. Then there's a separation, a divorce, and then one parent then, for example, lives with someone for 2 years, and the other parent lives with someone for 2 years. Now you've got four parents involved. They break up, and they then go live with someone else for 2 years apiece, and you've got six parents involved.
What about the very real possibility that, we know untold thousands of people leave the homosexual lifestyle? What about the possibility that even, let's say, two lesbian women enter into a counterfeit same-sex marriage, they get a divorce, let's say the other lesbian, non-related, actually adopts the child. Then the woman, the biological parent, leaves and remarries a man, and that man wants to adopt and be the father to this child. Well, what happens then? I mean, is that a situation where you set up, three parents, legal parents in a situation like that, or is he precluded from adopting the child because there's already two parents? This is the real mess that this whole same-sex marriage counterfeit has caused.
It really is, and I think it all goes back to the weakening of marriage at the beginning. We've had in this country a series of events from 1969 on, when Governor Ronald Reagan signed the first no-fault divorce law into existence, and then it went through all of the states, and now America is the most liberal nation in the world on divorce. We have then these domestic partnerships, these civil unions, same-sex marriage. All of that weakens the institution of marriage. When you weaken marriage between a man and a woman, where procreation and the best optimal environment for child rearing is, you ultimately weaken everything else. You destroy the society. You ultimately weaken the first form of government. You weaken everything else.
Well, very quickly, I happen to believe that that's the goal of much of the homosexual activist lobby. They don't want the white picket fence. They want access to the white picket fence so that they can burn it down. I believe that is the case.
Give us a call at Liberty Counsel, 1-800-671-1776, or go to our website at lc.org. The defense of the family is a critical issue that we need to be aware of with regards to the attacks, and also to be able to defend and protect marriage between one man and one woman. The future of America literally is hanging in the balance over the destiny of the family. Call us today at 1-800-671-1776. You can ask for my book, Same-Sex Marriage, Putting Every Household at Risk, and also ask to be put on the Liberty Alert mailing list or the email list. You can also do that right online by going to lc.org. That's lc.org, or call us toll-free today.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.